The following review will have spoilers. I will be talking about plot details and things that could ruin your experience of the game if you haven't for some reason gone near it yet. If you haven't, then you have been warned and should get going and do that before coming back here for this very long talk. Okay, so if there is a god, then they took mercy on us by setting up a flood on all the "it's gonna get delayed again" or "this game is never gonna come out" memes. Because now, finally, after 6 years of being in development, Kingdom Hearts 3 has finally graced our presence, so we can stop praying and get playing, which is what I did before writing this. I have platinumed the glorious game, which didn't take as long as I expected, but here I am ready to give a big ol' summary / review on this Disney fever dream. Before I get into dangerous waters that I need my ship for, if you are a fan of this game series, you should definitely play Kingdom Hearts 3, if you haven't already. But we all know you have, since it's all over Twitter. But to any newcomers who have been looking at this game from the horizon wondering if you should stare at this new sun at the risk of being blinded, then I'm just going to say that Kingdom Hearts 3 is a game for the fans. If you are a newcomer, then you'll enjoy playing it, and there isn't anything wrong with this being your first experience with the series, but the main story will mostly fly right over your little head. But the game still is a great action RPG, just a very confusing one at that point. This game is meant to tie up a lot of story arcs, so all the grand moments need some sort of investment and understanding for them to have their maximum impact, so I do recommend you do some homework, or play the past games before you jump in to get the full experience. Kingdom Hearts 3 did kind of prepare for the newcomers with the memory archive and a basic glossary for all the nonsense terms, but this isn't enough to get everything out of this game, since Kingdom Hearts 3 rewards you for knowing all the little details. The main one I recommend digging up information on is Kingdom Hearts Union Cross, since even if you play all of it that you can like I did, it still doesn't matter because most of the game isn't available on the English version because of the quest delays, so you may as well go onto YouTube for it. Back cover doesn't give you everything you need to know about that story and how it has a role in Kingdom Hearts 3 or the future of the series. I'll be linking all the helpful stuff I find for you people catching up, so either you jump into the deep end and enjoy the ride, or do some prepping and cry like everyone else. But regardless on whether you get it or not, Kingdom Hearts is wholesome enough that even without context you'll get at least something out of it. Still, jumping into the pool without knowledge will feel a lot more like this. Since the story has been briefly mentioned, now I'll start breaking the game down section by section, and I'll start with the story. The game starts immediately after Dream Drop Distance, where Sora needs to learn the power of waking to get back lost allies to stop Xehanort and his 13 Darknesses. Sora, Donald and Goofy then travel to Disney Worlds to try get the power while they defend those worlds from dark forces. Meanwhile, Mickey and Riku are on a mission to save Aqua from the Realm of Darkness, and she is the key to Ventus's location. That is the basic plot setup, but there are storylines from past games that are addressed. This game doesn't waste any time getting into the action, but that doesn't translate to the tension being well paced. Before I dig into specific worlds, I am just going to say that this game encompasses every world having some amount of relevancy, and after completing the worlds, then you do get cutscenes of plot. But this game does not make actual tension until right near the end, unlike in previous games, there being a halfway point where the game tells you to take the driver's seat and get ready, like in Hollow Bastion in Kingdom Hearts 2 after you beat all the Disney worlds for the first time. And you get the Heartless invading, the organization showing up, including the big bad of the entire game, and then an emotional time for characters, like, remember when Sora begged Sayax to let him see Kairi and then got angry over being told no? Well, I hate to break it in, but I did not like the fact this didn't happen in Kingdom Hearts 3 when it could have all shown up a lot sooner. You have to complete all the Disney worlds first to get the tension rising. Not you! And then there are some straight up disappointments over how characters were glanced over. I know we all like Riku and he's well developed, but I don't care about playing him now. Kairi had some grand potential in this game and they ignored it, which is why down the line I'll be writing a video just for her and how they screwed up. So they ditched a main character in this series, which is very frustrating when they give massive windows to give the character a standout moment that makes you wonder if Nomura just straight out likes her and the other characters he did dirty to like this. There are indications though for certain characters that he has more in store for them down the line. And yes, I'm looking at you, Maleficent.
What's in the fucking box?
More people wanted this game to go all out, so it is a letdown for now until we see more of it all. But I will make it clear that most of the blanks that are left for this game are meant to be there. And you can't complain about them since Kingdom Hearts 3 is just the end of the Dark Seeker saga, so there are more games to come. So spread the word on that, please. Because of that, the game intentionally leaves a huge pathway with pre-established plot on the foretellers for the series to continue with a new arc, but to also give an ending to the current saga's storyline, so keep that in mind when certain things aren't answered and you wonder the fates of certain characters. But stuff like the list I'll be putting on screen, you and I have every reason to wonder about and every right to, because this stuff straight up doesn't get answered or explained, which it should have been. But the thing that Kingdom Hearts 3 does better than any other Kingdom Hearts game is adding in charm everywhere it can. Sora, Donald and Goofy are part of the heart of this game and their dynamic is really great. The banter isn't awkward anymore, whether that be because of the improvements in writing or we've gotten used to the awkwardness. There are some nice gags and characters' personalities shine through. Sora isn't a moron like in Dream Drop Distance, which made us all want to pull our hair out before, and has the sass back that he lost from Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. The charm also carries over into the Disney characters, which captures the feeling and fun of the films instead of being some cheap hollow imitation. And the Disney worlds, you need to have watched the films in order to understand them, regardless of the two categories I'm going to put them into. The worlds either follow their film's plot point by point, with Sora, Donald and Goofy being there for the events, or the plot takes place after the movie, with an original story which still references the events of the films. You need to have watched over the films, since even if the game goes over some of the plot, it skips over information. So you won't get who the hell Hans is and why he is the villain in Arendelle, since the game doesn't cover him at all, except for as the boss you beat up. You also won't understand why Mother Gothel kidnapped Rapunzel in the first place in the Kingdom of Corona, or just any of the Caribbean's plot, which in my opinion is the world handled the worst for story in this game, despite it's the best for gameplay. Now before we get into gameplay, I want to cover some things that really contribute towards it. Kingdom Hearts level progression design is pretty much unchanged. You start in a tutorial world which lets you know the basic of the game, and then you plow through Disney worlds, beat bosses after completing objectives, and then move on to the next one. But you can always go back later for treats. You go through the world one time and then you move on. Second visits aren't back from Kingdom Hearts 2, and neither are the large amount of worlds. But the worlds in this game are over triple the scale of how worlds were, and each world feels very distinct from each other, with different mechanics, minigames, objectives, and utilises the new fun traversal and open-ended exploration by integrating vertical platforming better than ever before. The worlds are full of detail and are interactable. And god, there are NPCs! Sora isn't running through some empty, dull-as-hell nuclear site. They actually talk about their own random shit. The worlds feel alive. Ahem. Anyway, I feel like some of the worlds were more fun than others. San Francisco and 100 Acre Wood both bored me into a coma while I was playing. Arendelle, when it came to Olaf, annoyed me beyond belief, but even at their most dull worlds, they have a lot of variety. There are events that are dull in this game, like all of 100 Acre Wood, putting Olaf back together in Arendelle in one of the most audibly annoying things in the entire game, and then the courses and missions in San Francisco, but none of them are as bad as the mind-numbing crap from previous games like breaking barrels and pots in Olympus Coliseum, which returned in more than one game. But now the worlds are vertically and horizontally bigger, so it's a lot easier to get lost, even though the game will try to keep you directed, unlike in Kingdom Hearts 1. A simple solution I would have liked is being able to view the full map, or at least zoom in on the mini-map, but the game won't let us have that for some reason. But because worlds are so big in this game, it makes the small worlds like Twilight Town and 100 Acre Wood look puny even by the past game standpoint. 100 Acre Wood to me was just added in for the sake of it and didn't need to be in the game at all. Also, this game disappointed me on the amount of Kingdom Hearts original worlds that showed up. Those worlds being Twilight Town, the Dark Realm, the Land of Departure, the Keyblade Graveyard, the Final World, and Scaled Kylum. Twilight Town and the Keyblade Graveyard are the only original worlds which are actually fleshed out areas that you can properly explore like actual worlds, because the others are just pit stops. The Dark Realm is only available for story boss fights and optional fights. The Land of Departure is only visitable for story reasons, and gameplay of it is just you running down a hall and then entering a boss fight. The Final World has no revisit value unless you didn't unlock the extra health from gathering enough Sora clones the first time around for the game to stop you, and to get a single chest. There are interactions in that world on your first visit with the hearts of people, but if you don't do them the first time around, when you return to that world, all the hearts are gone, so they are missable interactions. As for good old Scala, it is only minimally accessible without instigating the final battles, so you can only explore it mid-fight. The thing that bothers me about this is the trailer for Kingdom Hearts 3 showed the Mysterious Tower as a playable location back when the game was being made on the Luminous engine. So they originally had plans to make it an actual world again like in Kingdom Hearts 2. Disney Castle is also shown in the ending of the game, so it could have been included, though I care less for this world except for the potential life building for Donald, Goofy and Mickey. What does disappoint me is that they didn't include Destiny Islands, since we get many cutscenes in that world of massive importance, and it is the entrance to the Dark Realm. I, if anything, thought that the moment I saw Sora about to enter the Dark Realm that we would be allowed to run around Destiny Island. But nope. Destiny Island, yes, may have been playable as shown in multiple previous games, but shall we go over how it was in those games? In Kingdom Hearts 1, it was a tutorial world that was dull as hell for gathering ingredients and stupid mini-fights until you beat Darksider for the first time. In Chain of Memories, it was a repeat of Kingdom Hearts 1, but with a bad version of Yu-Gi-Oh! For gameplay. In Kingdom Hearts 2, it was purely for cutscenes, but there was code for it to be playable on the main island side. In 358 over 2 days, it was for cutscenes. In Recoded, it is for a block hitting simulation matching Kingdom Hearts 1 again. In Birth by Sleep, it is a walk around zone for cutscenes and a boss fight. And finally for Dream Drop Distance, it is a cutscene area and boss location. It has never been used more than it was in Kingdom Hearts 1, despite it being the homeworld of 3 of our main characters, which is a massive shame. Imagine if you went there and the NPCs knew Sora, Riku and Kairi and mentioned them. It'd build on their lives. But anyway, I digress. Another contribution is the wonderful AI improvements. For once, Donald doesn't suck. He actually heals you in appropriate times and doesn't spitball through his mana. The AI improvements are very appreciated. In the past, we couldn't rely on the AIs for anything.
Help me! Help me! Nigga!
So anyway, this game is longer than previous installments and manages that without padding things out. It feels streamlined and focused. Now it's time to properly delve into gameplay, which takes a lot of systems used in past games but runs them with new twists to make them its own. It closest resembles Kingdom Hearts 2 with some extra goodies. You get your basic attack combos and magic back with the link system in again. just with new buds to replace the summons. But reaction commands are replaced with Keyblade transformations, attraction flow, character limits, and grand magic commands, including shot locks from Birth by Sleep, flow motion from Dream Drop Distance, dodge rolls, which thank God you don't have to learn this time, blocks, jumping, air steps, air sliding, and gliding. The combat is the most flashy, chaotic, and fun it has ever been. Keyblade transformations are definitely taking centre stage out of the changes and are the court of the combat this time around. You can equip 3 Keyblades at the same time, and when you build up your combo meter, the key can enter a mostly unique transformation which changes your movesets and abilities. Some of the Keyblades get more than one transformation, and all of them get nice finishes when the transformation ends. I do like this changeover from drive forms, though I do miss being able to wield 2 Keyblades like a badass. Unlike with drive forms, you don't have to level them, thank God, and they are easy accessible, and don't make you feel as broken in some cases. All the Keyblades are useful depending on how you want to play, which gets rid of the backlog of most Keyblades never seeing the light of day again once you get new ones with better stats or abilities. Though, once you get Ultima Weapon, you discover its transformation is broken as hell and it'll quickly become your favourite. The Keyblades are all upgradable excluding Ultima, which comes out perfect upon fusing it, so none of them get left out in the dust because of small numbers. One issue I do have is there is less variety, and all reliable Keyblades like Oathkeeper and Oblivion don't show up, which I would guess they did over Roxas, but Sora had those Keyblades first and they are tied to his friends, so why isn't he able to use them? He, if anything, has Kairi's good luck charm, so he has the keychain for Oathkeeper the entire time. Anyway, abilities are also back, and like I mentioned with Dodge Roll, they are not learned through other mechanics like they were in Kingdom Hearts 2 with drive forms. You can get them gradually as you play the game and complete worlds, which is the same approach Kingdom Hearts 1 had, which I really do appreciate since it gives you a nice pathway to visiting the currently small post-game, which will hopefully be expanded on. There won't be the dragging moments of going to specific areas, exiting, and then re-entering the location after beating the hell out of specific enemies to get the levels to max, just so you can unlock the abilities which are absolutely essential. Like Dodge Roll. There are unlockable abilities though in minigames, but none of them are essential and won't be needed if they add in critical mode or post-game. Believe me. Shot locks, flow motion, character limits, and links work similarly as they did in previous installments. Grand magic is just press triangle for a big spell that deals AoE damage. The last thing though I'm going to mention is attraction flow, which is one of the most controversial parts of the gameplay now. You summon a Disney park ride to deal AoE damage. They look pretty, but they are dull to control and overpowered with how much damage they deal and how often the option appears for them. I feel they should have only been made available in certain situations like the big Magic Mountain roller coaster was during the Rock Titan fight, so they actually follow the flow of the battle and aren't as abusable. And another multiple slot change is the shortcuts, which is a very welcome change. The shortcuts you can set are for magic, items, and links like usual, but now with magic you don't get the spells replaced with the strongest variants, so you can pick Cure over Curaga if you're a sadist and really wanna. Then, a low-key mention I have to do is for Rage Form, which is Anti-Form from Kingdom Hearts 2 on steroids, and it is a beautiful thing that I love dearly for a few reasons. But mainly because the form triggers openly when you're on low health, and it fills your health to full when you use it, and is the only command in the game which does this. It has Risk Taker as its command, which siphons your health for damage, but unlike before, you're not alone unable to heal. You have Donald, who is better than before and will heal you, so your health comes back as you use it. They fixed the issues with Anti-Form and I love it. Customized is the best word to sum up the combat, and the best part of the combat is you're not forced to use any of the commands and can do whatever best suits you. You can shuffle through the situation commands on the fly, change keyblades freely that are relatively balanced, pick the abilities you want, and shortcuts which you can also switch through. You have so many options. Also, you don't need to worry about the combat being floaty. That word plagues the community, and we all can now know for certainty that this game is not as bad as other installments. It is an amalgamation between Kingdom Hearts 2 and 0.2 in that regard. The team behind Birth by Sleep and Dream Drop Distance has gotten their shit together, thankfully. The stiffness and weight issues in the previous works aren't present here. And some extra bits are added as water wings just in case you do drown, like guarding in midair, which was trippy at first for me since it's never been in the game before, items being usable in midair, magic being interactable, and the lovely movements I mentioned before. Now comes the difficulty, which, I hate to whine like this, and I feel awkward describing myself in this way, but I'm a Kingdom Hearts veteran. I've played every game on its hardest difficulty, so for me this game is too easy, excluding a really annoying spike in the Caribbean against the Raging Vulture, which screw that thing to hell. And the final boss rush offers you challenge in the fact that they can combo lock you. Something that does give me hope on the difficulty is the fact that the 0 XP ability is on every difficulty now, which is a solution of sorts, but more importantly, people have found critical mode through save editing using the PlayStation Save Wizard. So, we could eventually get it made available, which would be very nice. The combat is designed for horde control since the hardware gives way for more enemies, so the damage is a little on the high side versus the amount of damage you take. Newcomers will need the hordes to learn the new mechanics, so the difficulty should work well for them. The variety is nice, but I wish they could have kept the reaction commands from Kingdom Hearts 2 somehow, because that set the gameplay how I most enjoy it. I like games that get me thinking and analysing that kind of restricts my options. It needs to be fair so crippling doesn't work for me, but if I screw up, then my enemies should take advantage of it if I pick a higher difficulty. And the reaction commands made fights feel unique since finishers were linked to each type of enemy and had special animations. Without some new spice to the fights, it feels pretty repetitive. It also makes fighting Luxord hilariously pathetic considering his data fight screwed me over so often in Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix. So now I can get my sadistic revenge! I mean, the fight with Marshmallow and the Ice Wolf in Arendelle offers weak versions of reaction commands that are a bit of fresh air before you go back into repetition though. Some additional comments though on gameplay based stuff includes the gummy ship, cooking with Little Chef, the gummy phone, extra mechanics thrown in, and the post game. Starting off on the gummy ship, it is the best in the series, with the battle segments and building being an evolution on how it worked in Kingdom Hearts 2 with improvements, and the actual exploration working great with a good feeling behind it. It's not really shoveled down your throat either, unlike some other mechanics. You can avoid most dogfights excluding bosses from entering specific worlds, and it has a lot of death. Meanwhile, when I say shoving down your throat, I mean Donald and Goofy giving me shit about ingredients enough that I want to make a custom recipe where they are going in the fucking dish. The cooking minigame is cute and a nice way to integrate Ratatouille, and the buffs from eating may not be apparent in which mode you play in, but based on what other people have told me, it does make a huge difference in level 1 playthroughs, which I can understand and believe. As for the gummy phone, I thought it would be only good for making memes, but they actually integrated it well into the game. As a contribution to record your journey, make minigames fluidly added into the game, since it makes sense Sora would need something to distract him from Donald's voice, unlocking synthesis recipes with the Moogles, and taking photos of characters and collectibles like the lucky emblems and the constellations. I just love their little add-in of all the characters that are or were in the party having unique poses for when you try to take their photos. Meanwhile, extras that I mentioned are more specifically a reference to little details put into swimming and the Leviathan, which are each reasons I believe the Caribbean is the best world for gameplay. Swimming was something that myself and many other fans had issues with in Kingdom Hearts 1, and it never really improved. But now, we actually have an instance where it is done justice. Maintaining control compared to on land is different considering you feel slow unless you use square to use your keyblade as a propeller, which limits your movement control, and even without it, the vertical element in swimming can throw people off. Combat underwater feels much better too. Strides were clearly made since closing distance with enemies is much quicker and efficient, and the enemies don't just ditch you because their attacks are dashes in directions away from you. And hell, being underwater even modifies how magic works, which is great attention to detail. So compared to previous installments, it is much more streamlined, and the world associated with it doesn't just run around a bullshit mechanic. Atlantica is hated for being terrible in controls and then becoming a minigame song hell, and now it is gone. Then, when I say Leviathan, I don't mean the absolutely awesome Final Fantasy monster, though I am sure that the name is a reference to it. I mean the ship you get in the Caribbean. The way you best dispose of enemies is by aiming for the weak points, which can seem basic, but it's fun to do, and a lot of thought was put into the combat, which can be seen in the numerous spots where weak points can appear, the varying strength of enemy ships, and the commands that can pop up for the ship exclusively. The upgrading of the ship can be a bit dull since you have to gather the white crabs that Calypso uses in the film to upgrade it, which spawn in locations everywhere in that world. Like, these little heathens are everywhere. In boxes, in barrels,
Destroy all the barrels!
up in trees. They plague us both on sand and in sea. As for the post-game stuff, you get battle gates and one secret boss. The battle gates are self-explanatory, but when you beat them you tend to get secret reports which contribute towards the story, or items. The secret boss Dark Inferno, meanwhile, is one of the easiest, if not the easiest, boss in the entire series. Even if there are some juicy hints towards who Dark Inferno could be, based on physical traits and the location you fight it. The lack of difficulty on this boss makes me wish that Sephiroth was in the game to kick my ass a lot. Something I also kind of count as post-game is if you revisit worlds after the story in that world has ended, then the world does change in some way, as if life is moving on. Which I really like and I hope is a feature that returns in future installments. Another thing that kind of fits in here is the mini-games, which are scattered all over the game, since it's a gameplay extra. To me, a lot of them felt pretty dull. It doesn't help that the Classic Kingdom ones specifically did make an appearance in Union Cross for a limited time event to unlock the Starlight Keyblade early, which I did do. And then the guesses I had on minigames being tied to trophies had me grinding them until I got a trophy to pop. The end game needs work and does beg for more to be added, which brings in the term Final Mix, which is basically Kingdom Hearts DLC before DLC was a thing. Nomura has expressed recently interest in adding DLC into the game, so it leaves food for thought and a lot of hope. But that isn't the stuff everyone cares about. What everyone does care about is the looks and sounds of the game. Presentation is a winner, and this game is all about it. The team behind this game made a great choice swapping from the Luminous engine to the Unreal Engine 4, because this game has taken strides from its early trailers. The Disney worlds look as good as their films, if not better in some cases, like Toy Story and Monsters Inc. Seeing 2D era Disney in this sort of style like Hercules takes a bit of getting used to, but it still looks fantastic. Also, a note to make is despite the origins of the series being a blend of Disney and Final Fantasy, the only Final Fantasy character of sorts to appear in the game is the Moogles, which I don't really count. There are a few references to the series which include the name of a family of gummy ships and the second form of the Wheel of Fate Keyblade which are named Highwind, the opening and toy box, and the secret ending which feature Yozora, which is based on Nomura's aims for Final Fantasy Versus 13. On the second floor of Galaxy Toys, in the toy box world, there is a line of Dissidia T action figures featuring some iconic summons from Final Fantasy. Then there is the Ultima weapon, which is the most powerful Keyblade in the game, which has a name referencing a boss throughout the Final Fantasy series with the same name. And then there are the constellations of enemies for the series in the gummy ship exploration areas, which unlock ships based around them. I don't mind the lack of Final Fantasy characters, since I feel most of the Kingdom Hearts original cast is growing into its own, and has its own sense of self now and doesn't need Final Fantasy to bring people back to the series anymore. But one essential thing I do think needs to be in every Kingdom Hearts numbered installment is Sephiroth as a secret boss, which means as a result, Cloud should be there too, since Kingdom Hearts linked them in its own way. Sephiroth is iconic as a secret boss in this series, which makes it a shame that he doesn't appear in this installment. Anyway, the engine swap was one part of the reason that this game was delayed. The other part is all the worlds had to be approved by Disney. So, a lot of effort went into emulating the properties. Meanwhile, the Kingdom Hearts original stuff, like the characters, look amazing and more vibrant than ever before. They are far more expressive too. Gone are the days of stiff and emotionless, minimalistic crap from characters, and hello camera angle experimentation and physical identification of what a character is feeling, being in their damn faces and behaviour, while it comes off as being natural. The models are stunning, and a massive leap forward from the past. And if the characters weren't iconic, you could think this was a different game series entirely. It is one of the best looking games I've ever seen. I had pleasant moments of surprise in this game where a combination of the scene directing, camera angles, and character expressions resulted in the presentation of scenes being so good they manages to be moving without the characters needing to say a word, which is me bowing my head to the moment where Axel saw Kairi as Shion. I never in my wildest dreams thought I would use the word cinematography in the same sentence as Kingdom Hearts, but it is clearly present here. The characters aren't the only ones who get this lovely polish either. Most enemy designs are very unique and just make me happy. An amazing example of that being the Ice Wolf boss from Arendelle, which is based around Skoll from Norse mythology, who devours the sun, and the boss fight integrates that into the actual fighting, which makes me far too happy. Though there are two Unverse designs, which look too similar, which is disappointing, and I feel the Unverse should have been more used, and had more variety as a whole. The two I'm talking about are the Turtle Toad and the Spiked Turtle Toad, since to me, if Unversed are going to only be used in one place, which is Monstropolis, and there are very few of them, then I feel they should be completely unique from each other. But I digress. One of the things I am upset about when it comes to the looks of this game is the animation dreamy style for cutscenes such as the opening and ending is used very minimally. It doesn't appear in the ending, and instead the models are used. Yes, the models look great, but I miss the animation. Though the cool designs and graphics don't mean a thing if this game looks like it was made on Windows Movie Maker. I played this game on the standard PlayStation 4, and I could hear my console begging for help after not too long, but it did hold its own. That's probably affecting my viewing experience of the game during my livestream, where I mentioned sections that were pixely too, or at least I hope that's the case. I assume the PlayStation 4 Pro will run the game much better than my old Reliable did, but I can give props that such a huge game ran as well as it did on my PlayStation 4 that I got when the PlayStation 4 was first released. I only encountered an issue really in Scarlet Kylan where The command menu had a file image pop up, which was fixed after a reset. I've also heard people complain about the camera, so I'll address that before I get into my favourite part of this entire long review. The camera is fine for most instances, just because the game focuses on horde control, it can be hard to keep track of everything. But honestly, that doesn't bother me at all, since most enemies are so ridiculously easy to deal with. To me, as long as the camera angle never does what it did in Kingdom Hearts 1 ever again, which is get stuck on the arena because the area is so small that you're fighting in, then I don't give a damn. The camera getting stuck gave me Nam flashbacks, and I hope Square learned its lesson. So now on to something that really does get my heart racing, is the music, because this game's soundtrack makes me, an atheist, debate on if there is a god because this could only be a gift from one. Yoko Shimomura is a legend in music, and she can prove it with so many jaw-dropping tracks, with my favourites from this game being Anti-Aqua's boss theme, the Final World theme, the Other Promise / Vector of the Heavens, Oscurata de Xehanort, Scaled Kylem's theme, The Key to All, and the orchestral version of Don't Think Twice. You can tell from these themes that the budget was way higher for this game, considering the orchestra and the choir implementations. I'm so glad that The Other Side and Vector of the Heavens made a return, as they were some of my favourite pieces of music from the series as a whole, and to see them integrated together like this is multiplying my love for it. Anti-Aqua's boss theme is also jaw-dropping, and is one of the darkest tracks to date in the series, with its dingy remix of Aqua's theme that drips with her crying for help alone in the darkness by blending in Fates of the Unknown. Those two tracks each made me wish for more old, stunning tracks to be recreated in this game. But I'm also glad there's a nice focus on original music for this game, so my interests are conflicting. My favourite original track in this game is Scaled Kylem's theme. It's just too good for words. And like always, Utada Hikaru brought her A-game with Don't Think Twice, which I actually enjoy more than any other song in the series, which brings the series full circle with Simple and Clean. Face My Fears I originally wasn't too keen on, and it is very polarising. But it has grown on me and does set a tone for the game while having impactful lyrics on the oncoming conflict as it creates an identity for the game. I will be honest and say it is my least favourite out of all of the original songs for Kingdom Hearts, but I am happy with it. My tastes in music are very accepting, though there are genres I clearly prefer, so I like it, but dubstep isn't one of my preferences, and it stands apart from the other themes too much. Now, to follow the topic on the game's sound, it is time to talk about the voice acting, since that affects our perception of the characters. The Disney voices feel spot on, and surprisingly a lot of the film's casts came back. Of course this game series wouldn't be able to bring the big shots like Johnny Depp to reprise their roles, but their voice alikes are good enough. Main cast wise, almost everyone sounds fine, excluding two people. One of them I'm sure everyone can guess, but the other one maybe not so much unless you follow me on Twitter, since I have publicly mentioned it. Xehanort doesn't feel the same without Leonard Lamoy, and we all miss him dearly. He was a legend, and I don't think anyone could ever replace him. As for my other complaint, Kairi is voiced by Alison Stoner in this game, and she has been voiced by her before in Rechain of Memories and 0.2 Birth by Sleep. But in those games, Kairi had 3 lines at most, so it wasn't noticeable. But here it is, and it bothers me a lot, and only feels worse when there's no excuse for it when they didn't even ask Hayden Panettiere to reprise her role. I'm not bashing on Alison just to make this clear. She voices Shion beautifully and conveys a wonderful array of emotions. But the issue I have is solely with her performance of Kairi. since to me it feels like a terrible knockoff and that Kairi herself has lost her own sense of personality, charm and individuality, while sounding younger than she did in Kingdom Hearts 1 despite Kairi herself has aged. Hayden is Kairi to me, and while playing I just imagined Kairi with that voice, so I would love to see Hayden return to us. So now I'm going to answer the big question and give you my verdict. Is Kingdom Hearts 3 good and was it worth the wait? Yes! The way I can sum up this game in one word as someone who's been with the series since the start is satisfying. It's far from perfect, but the good outweighs the bad. Each installment of the series tends to excel in areas others haven't, and Kingdom Hearts 3 follows this trend by putting all previous installments to shame by buffing up some of the weakest parts of the series. But it also lacks the finer details we have all grown accustomed to, and it misses the mark on opportunities that have been built up for multiple games. Don't get me wrong, since Kingdom Hearts 3 is the grand conclusion of the dark secret saga that we all wanted. It doesn't pull punches, and it doesn't let go of the brakes, and delivers on so much build-up. This game captures the Disney magic the best out of any game in the series, but slaps on its own homemade charisma, massively detailed world design, and over-the-top flashy gameplay, all layered together into the best stack of pancakes on a table of amazing dishes that little Chef Nomura made for us all, which is the Kingdom Hearts series. As you can tell from my review though, I try to be balanced in my view, and I do think this game has flaws that needed to be made a note of. I have a huge issue with the way the game was advertised, which made any moments we could have enjoyed seeing ruined before we got to them, such as Auntie Aqua and Vanitas showing up. Though the way I look at it is, if those factors weren't revealed in the trailers, then would they have affected me? The answer I always come to is yes. People who didn't watch the trailers and went in completely blind will have a more positive outlook on the game. The way the PR was handled though makes me want to avoid future promotional material for any future games, so I can enjoy the experience in full. I hope that Square will learn from this, and next time just save information purely for the game, instead of revealing everything to us before we actually get it in our hands and on our consoles. But now the big 3 is done, I am looking forward to the future and have prayers for Kairi to be important. If you made it to this point, then thank you for watching. This video took a while to make, so I would appreciate if you would like the video and subscribe. I'm interested to see what sort of comments there are about my viewpoints and my first proper video. As I mentioned in this video, I do aim to make a video on Kairi next, so there is that and other Kingdom Hearts content that you can hopefully look forward to. So until then, I'll catch you all later.